Thank you for listening to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and Stitcher. Also, please follow Matt's Movie Reviews on Facebook, YouTube, Parler, and Instagram. And of course, be sure to visit www.mattsmoviereviews.net for the latest reviews, top 10 lists, and more. Now, on to the show.
We have been officially selected to premiere our movie at the Hollywood
International Film Festival
of Cinema.
The what? These film festivals, they can make or break careers.
Anything can happen. Lives will change.
I am told there will be press at the red carpet.
More like a red welcome mat.
You are the director, so you need to sell them.
Stop giving me tickets. There's no reason for these tickets. These tickets don't mean anything.
Rule of thumb, you should be able to pitch a movie in 10 syllables.
I guess the movie is about what happens when your dreams meet reality.
Kind of like those memes, expectation versus reality.
I don't know.
Oh.
We're competing against some pretty impressive indie films.
Brothers and sisters, Mrs. and Misters.
Maybe he just didn't get it.
Oh.
You didn't get it.
All that matters right now, winning an award, making a deal.
Man, this is about to get real weird.
I'm gonna set the building on fire.
Come on, this is like my new garden state.
Hello and welcome to the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast. I am your host, Matthew Pejkovic, and this is episode number 334. Out now on digital is Film Fest, a dramatic comedy that tells the story of struggling filmmakers who travel to an obscure film festival in a last-ditch effort to sell their movie. Part satire, part drama, an all-around insightful and hilarious story about art, ego, and the delusion of success. Film Fest stands tall as what I believe to be the best comedy so far this year. And joining me now on the Matt's Movie Reviews podcast is the director, co-writer, and producer of Film Fest, Mr. Marshall Cook. Marshall, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love that intro.
Awesome, thank you. So it's really interesting, just doing some research on your movie and listening to some interviews, and you were talking about how Film Fest is basically like experiences you have had as of a whole, with your experiences at film festivals, etc., and also about the best and worst, of yourself during those experiences. At what point did you realize that hey, this could be a really good movie, and start putting kind of pen to paper and start putting your thoughts and feelings about these experiences and try to script it into a movie?
I didn't think about writing it until probably spring of 2019. 2018, because we shot it in 19. So just about exactly a year before we started shooting it, which was pretty fast for, putting together an indie film, from just starting to write it. But I went to a few festivals with this movie that I acted in called Hunting Lands, and just kind of, it just reminded me of this whole world that I've been going to since I was 23, after this last run of festivals with that movie, I just called up Paul Allen Cope, was a recent friend of mine who's a true cinephile, and I just asked if he'd be interested in writing that with me. It's really interesting. One of my favorite films is Spinal Tap. And, whenever I'm a big heavy metal guy, whenever I listen to interviews with heavy metal artists like Judas Priest and Iron Man, they reference that movie and they talk about how accurate that film is in how presenting on who they are and what their world is, etc. Do you ever get fellow filmmakers get in touch with you and say, Marshall, dude, I just watched your movie. How the hell did you know that, we did so-and-so and that thing happened as well? Do you have a lot of kind of filmmakers relate to what's happening on screen and relate to the experiences that you've had? Yeah, I have so far. We're fairly newly out, so I haven't gotten a whole lot, but some. We're just trying to cut through the noise of all the content, the sea of content that's out there. So, yes, we think it'll be kind of like a slow burn. People will just stumble upon it and find it. But yeah, we really want to be the indie film by indie filmmakers for indie filmmakers. And, it's not, I think some people might think, they might look at this and be like, oh, is this a hit job on indie filmmakers or film festivals? And it's really not. It's a love-hate story. And I think the love is shown by, the details and the accuracy, that we've been through it. I wanted to talk about the name of the film festival that you have in the movie, which is Hollywood International Film Festival of Cinema. Quite a mouthful there. You and Paul, did you have kind of like a list of different kind of film festival names you're kind of messing around with and kind of went, you know what, that's the one that we want to really kind of have in the film?
Yeah, well, it's actually the Holly Wild.
Holly Wild.
Just to make it even more ridiculous. Just having a long mouthful title is funny to us. I mean, calling it a film festival of cinema is just a bit redundant. But yeah, I think we landed on that fairly quickly. I mean, part of it is making sure, this festival doesn't already exist. So the longer we made the title, the easier it was to be like, all right, nobody went that far. We wanted to make it sound like something that could exist, but we didn't want to, hurt anybody else's festival potentially.
Of course. Where was the film shot? Where was the kind of like the festival kind of set within your movie?
So it took place in Idlewild, California, and maybe that's how we landed on Hollywood and Holly Wild.
Right.
Idlewild is this it's in the forest reserves, it's about 2 hours east of Los Angeles. So like if you're going out to Palm Springs, it's up in this mountain range, and it's a really quaint, lovely little town. And they were really accommodating, and we kind of wanted to, I think a lot of films pitch the Sideways effect. We wanted it to be for that town what Sideways was to Solvang. We showcased it as much as we could. Oddly, the town was very loud for being a quiet little place. There was constantly helicopters and trucks and chainsaws and all kinds of action going on there that we didn't foresee.
Was it kind of like a logging community of any sort?
Well, there's definitely some of that going on, but just more than we could have ever imagined. Something was going on with, and there was rumors if it was like a power lines thing or if it was, wild chickens, but there was a helicopter circling for like 3 days straight, and it was just impossible to get around, and we didn't have the time to wait. So we had to power through some scenes, but just so much going on, a lot of infrastructure and then just dogs and live music, and it's a very lively town. Very nice people though.
I want to talk about the character of Logan Clark. He's the main character played by Matt Cook.
Yes.
The character is kind of going through something of an existential crisis, which I think a lot of people who deal with the arts, or be it filmmaking or writing, what have you, it's kind of like that thing between what you think you are, what your worth is as an artist versus the reality of the expectations placed on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like a mix between kind of like ego and self-pity as well. And it's something that I think not only myself, but a lot of people can kind of relate to. When it comes to yourself, a lot of the things that the character Logan went through is that kind of like your own reflections as a filmmaker? You had one feature film under your belt by then. Was that kind of like your own reflections that you wanted to put on the page and get on the screen as well?
Yeah, I think Logan was kind of in the timeline I was in after my first movie came out, which it on paper was a success. I mean, our investor got their money back plus profit. Our sales rep got paid. I personally didn't make any money off of it. Millions of people saw it. It was on every platform: Netflix, Showtime.
Yep.
As far as my career and getting considered for more projects or getting money or anything, really, just kind of nothing. And I kind of went the other way to most people's journey, where I actually, got into catering and bartending, and then had to kind of invent my career through commercial competitions and commercials, and then grind my way back into making another movie. So there was that whole period. I mean, you can look at IMDb. It was 10 years in between my first and second feature.
There's a scene with Logan at the start of the film. He's pitching his movie while working as a waiter, kind of like a swanky Hollywood party. Is that something that you yourself used to do? Any chance you could pitch your film, you would?
I wouldn't be that obvious, but for the sake of time in the movie, we just kind of had to get it going. But you always look for opportunities to network without being that guy,
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. I mean, when people doing catered events usually have money,
yes,
or some kind of status. So, but yeah, it's impossible to be taken seriously when you're serving them, hors d'oeuvres.
There's a really great scene in the film that speaks to the relationship between Logan's character and the character of Alex Davis, played by Diana Reasonova, who's she's like the producer of
Yes.
Logan's film. And it's kind of like almost like this kind of like come to Jesus moment between the two. And it really speaks to the constant hustle. That's why I always think, like when it comes to people working in the arts and different kind of things, always like constant hustle. It's not only about getting your creativity out there, it's also trying to get the funding for it as well. And it's a fantastic scene. I think it's one that like really represents that part of the indie film process that a lot of people don't really touch on that much. Whenever I see movies about producers in films, it's always about producers for like big Hollywood productions, not the small kind of like what you've said before is like kind of like the 99% of filmmakers, the people who like, kind of outside Hollywood. How important was it for you to really put that in there? And do you think a lot of people watching that film who might be prospective filmmakers will look at that and realize, there is that kind of aspect to it that a lot of people don't really give much thought to?
Yeah, I think, any indie filmmakers will identify with that, and anybody who's not, will maybe learn that, just because you make a movie doesn't mean you're a millionaire, I've many friends who have, produced movies and they haven't made money from that process really. And for the amount of time and effort that, you're talking about years, trying to get something made and sing it through. And then even after it comes out, it's an incredible responsibility. So yeah, I love that scene. I mean, and Deanna she really grounds the movie. She brings me to tears every time I see that scene. I know it's coming, and she just, makes my throat close up. I hope people can identify with that. I feel like, we tried to kind of walk that tightrope of still injecting some comedy, but, getting that kind of relationship and emotion out. Yeah, sorry, I'm just rambling.
No, not at all. No, it is a fantastic scene. I think one that really kind of stands out in the film as well. Another thing that stands out in this film, and pretty much any other film I've seen him in, I've seen him in 3 films already in the last month, is Will Sasso. I find him to be incredibly underrated as both an actor and a comedian. You've worked with him before on shorts. What's the Will Sasso experience like?
Will can just kind of do anything you ask him. I mean, I feel like there's a very high ceiling with what he's capable of, and nobody's even really seen it yet. He and I actually wrote a feature that it looks like we had a meeting yesterday. We might be shooting it in June.
Awesome.
Yeah. So this would be the thing where, hopefully it would be like, hey, this is Will Sasso, this is that guy that you recognize that's been around. This is going to be his thing. He's going to really hang his hat on. He's just so, I mean, his reference library is ridiculous. Like he can remember any tune or any, delivery from any comedy or song, or, he's a savant. So yeah, I love having him on my team, and I'm very, excited and hopeful that we can do this next thing together. Cause the short we did, Follow Me, was great, even though that was just like a little $3,800 weekend shoot,
Speaking of tunes, he plays a character called Montgomery Nash in the film. He's the festival director. It's kind of like, he kind of sees himself as this kind of filmmaker guru. And amongst other things, he's also a podcast host. There's a scene where he's in his podcast element, and he has a theme song. And the theme song has lyrics such as script select, talk direct, independent project. How did that theme song come about? Is that something that are you like, Will, we need a theme song for here? What's something you got? And he's like, look, give me a day or so and I'll bring something together. Or is that something you collaborate with him on?
No, actually, myself, my co-writer Paul, and CJ, who plays Kyle the PA, we actually kind of came up with the lyrics, and then our musicians Matter, that's the name of their group, Matter.
Yep.
Daniel Pinella, they had the tune. So we just showed that to Will, and Will just kind of came in and said, "Oh yeah, he would sing it like this," and he just knocked it out. Like, his first take on it was great, and that song is addictive. I mean, that's been stuck in my head. Like I actually can't think about it because I'll be singing it the rest of the day. But it's just so dumb in the best way.
I know. I mean, I had to watch it again this morning because I watched this film like a few days ago, and that song, I love the movie, but I don't know why. It was like the two things that really stuck in my head outside the movie was the scene with Matt and Diana and that song. And I had to watch that song again because I was like, what are the lyrics? Because I got the melody in my head, like da da da. Like, I got to find the lyrics for this thing, and I had to watch it again. And I think it was like just absolutely brilliant. It really was.
I really wanted to play it fully produced, so people could really hear it. But it did play better, in the cans in that silent scene in the lead up to the podcast. However, I did put it at the end credits, the full song, fully produced, because I couldn't have people not hear the full thing,
I think you should clip that and put it on YouTube with like just, do something to Will with it because I think it's just hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah.
It's really interesting. There's one of the characters in the film talks about how when it comes to the thing about success is that no one ever makes it, and people that even make it don't even feel like they have made it. And I've heard you make a comparison before in regards to Tom Brady and how he's also always chasing the next ring. Don't worry about all the other ones he had before that. It's what always kind of comes next. Do you think that, when it comes to what success is, I mean, to you, what is success? I mean, for me, I know that I'm not going to be highly successful as a podcaster. It's just about the hustle and just trying to get the content out there. To me, it's all about just getting the work out there and get it done, and hopefully something comes of it. That's awesome. What about for yourself in regards to what success is? Has that changed over the years? Like from the time you've done your first feature and your first acting jobs to where you're up to now, has your idea of success changed over the years?
You're always moving the goalposts because, you set goals and if you achieve them, it's like, now what? I mean, one of my goals was to direct and star in a movie. And I did both of those in the same one with Division 3 and I was 27 and, Division 3, like, there's still some great comedy in that. And I know people like it, but I don't look at that movie as success anymore. I've actually had a lot of restless nights about decisions I made on that movie. Nobody beats me up over my own work than I do. Success is any project that I can do and not, pick apart later. Like, I think Follow Me is that. I think that, there's some shorts I've even done on my Instagram. I think those are successful, even though those are just for fun, I think Film Fest is a success, but, the most important movie to me now is this next one that I wrote with Will Sasso. Because that, should be the best thing I've ever done. And then when that's done, you can't live in, the past. Then, I'll move the goalposts again. But for me, it's like, while I'm doing it, if I can enjoy the process, if I can feel like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at a very high level. And then when it's all done, I achieved what I set out to do. I find that to be successful. It's not really about money because like money, comes and goes, but like that, the thing that you're making, that's forever.
Yes.
And I was on a movie with Joe Carnahan as an actor, and he said something on set that I'm going to steal. And he, when somebody's doing something or that could affect, the shot or whatever, he's like, oh, well, it's only forever, And I'm like, yeah, it is. Because that day of, filming, you only have that day to get what you're getting. And then that's forever, That's a long answer. I don't know. Did I cover it?
Long answers are the best answers. And so for everyone out there listening, Film Fest out now on digital. You can watch it on Amazon, iTunes, Google Play. Really highly recommend this movie. As I said in the intro, it's absolutely one of the best films I've seen so far this year. And I absolutely loved the movie. It made me laugh and made me very introspective about a lot of things as well. I think you really hit the nail on the head here, Marshall. And I thank you very much for the film, and thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, just to anyone still listening, it is a sincere movie. You know, yes. I think that's part of the charm.
Absolutely.
But and yeah, anyway, thank you for your time.